Go live. You don't have to wait for that. Minimize that. And got it, but we're live. And as long as that red symbol's up there, we're live. So.
She is on the way. She is on the way, and it is 5:31. Ready to start? All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Hello, Blair.
She's doing all this.
Sorry, I misjudged the clock 5 times.
Hmm.
You didn't bring it?
Oh, Eric's in charge of taking it out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Glenda. And we're in order. This is the first one of the new year. Thank everybody for showing up. We're missing a couple of council members, but we do have a quorum. Jeremy's joining in from Zoom land. Hello, Jeremy. Okay, so the meeting minutes of the December 12th meeting have been distributed to the council prior. I would entertain a motion to accept.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor is aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, thank you for approving those. Visitors and petitioners. Have anybody new from the community? Blair is here. I've told that we don't have a winner for January 23rd or the January writing contest. I guess everybody was busy. And we do not have a declared winner at this time.
So are you still accepting applications or are you still getting some? Okay.
Okay. Which lets us get into old business. The old business on the agenda is discussion of the emergency shelter generator grant. And council has some documents that have been sent to them ahead of time. And moving forward with that, we got a couple of rough drafts we still want to work on. And that is for the actual solicitation for proposals and some guidelines for review. And I think I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Hale to walk us through that if she'd like to.
Okay. The first, I'll go to the rough draft, and this is pretty much what you saw at the last meeting, except that I have gone ahead and put the definition of a competitive grant in there so that it'd be clear that we are not awarding an a determined amount. That's pretty much what we've talked about the whole time. I sent it out to you all. Tanara gave me some information tonight, but I've not had like any response for corrections or anything like that. Ralph had a couple of questions and we can address those in just a second. The second portion that I gave you is the guideline for grant reviewers. And Gene and I had a meeting Friday and he was wanting us to come up, if we're going to do something, we know how we're going to award it, to have that pointed out. And so you can see this is basically just information at the beginning. It's some guidelines that reviewers should use, and it should be confidentiality, fairness, excellence, efficiency, and transparency in awarding a grant, that these are the things that you should keep in mind. And then we have the grant proposal information. I can go into more details with that, but basically, when you're looking at the overview and the eligibility requirements, all they have to do is go back and read that. These are just sort of key points to what we're wanting. And then on the second page, the metric that I've set up, that this is to read and review the applicant's application for the Calvert City Emergency Generator Grant. The council would answer the questions provided by choosing, in your opinion, the most applicable statement listed below to evaluate the submitted application. So basically, there will be a statement there. You will have 3 or 4 multiple choices to rate that statement as to how that it fits into what we are wanting with this grant. I only put one example down there because I didn't feel like it would be fair to have all of the criteria out there at this point. I just sort of wanted to give you an example of it, of how we would be doing it. And the first one is like, are the goals of the organization clearly defined and aligned with the goals of the Calvert City Disaster Generator Grant? And we would have the information that they have provided for us. And I actually should have gone over the application part of it, but the things that we've asked for them in the application part of it, that we would go over that, and your answers would be that they had clearly defined what they were wanting to do, and it clearly fit into what we're wanting. The second one would be that the goals are loosely defined, and maybe they still fit in with what we're wanting, but their goals are just, their information's just not there. And then the number one would be that the goals have no connection to what we're wanting. You know, if we're wanting a permanent generator, if somebody came one that was a temporary or movable generator, then they wouldn't be fitting into those parameters. That's just, then you would circle that's probably me. You would circle the one that you wanted, then we would tally the points. And there's about 10 different questions. And you would tally the points. The entity with the most points would be the ones that we would pick for further consideration. It's sort of going to be as you go. If you have a tie, you know, and I think that's a remote possibility, but if you did, then you know, that's what we might want to interview or talk to. But, you know, I feel like we've set up some things here, and if you want, I didn't bring all of the questions with me tonight, but if you want to see those, or if you want to submit a statement or a question that you think would be appropriate in that, I do add that. Okay. And Ralph's questions were, the first one was having, or do you want to ask? Do you want to?
No, go ahead, because I don't really have them in front of me now.
Okay. One of them was whether or not it would be used at some point other than a Red Cross declared emergency. And basically, the way I understood it, I feel like I've been directed to, what I'm doing on the grant is to gear that toward a Red Cross emergency shelter situation. And because if we go into them, the entity opening up their facility, we may have to have a lot more information and a lot more things from them, that we sort of just have to give a little grace here and have a little faith that if there should be something like the need to house somebody, house the community, let's just say, worst of all, if there was a leak of some kind from the plant, that they would open up the church. They opened it up, or any of the facilities, they open them up now. So that's just, you know, something that I guess we're putting our trust in on that one. And the other thing he asked was, and we do have that covered a little bit, would be the maintenance of the generator. Would be the maintenance of the generator, whether or not the city wanted to have a maintenance plan or something like that. And Gene, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think we sort of, when you and John and I were talking, we really didn't want to necessarily set that up for the city to do that. We could maybe ask them to send in a yearly maintenance report, but that would just, you can give your take on that. Or,
Well, I didn't really mean it. I don't think I even used the word maintenance. I used the word compliance.
okay.
And like, there are all kinds of things that make them, I guess, where they meet criteria that Red Cross has set up, for one thing, in terms of bathroom space or
we have
things
that.
like that.
Yeah,
And that as the years go by, that they continue to meet that, because we may not
that's
have
in there.
a,
That's
okay.
I was
well,
gonna
that's
say, you can request periodic reports from them.
Yeah.
Showing that they do have, the inspection.
Yeah.
How it came out.
Yeah.
On the maintenance, you can ask for, you know, just updated copies of their agreements with Red Cross. I mean, surely you could ask for that.
when you look at
As
the
part of it.
violations of conditions.
Yeah.
That's gonna. it pretty much outlines it. It said, should any grant recipient fail to maintain Red Cross certification for the entirety of the 15-year period or otherwise fail or cease to meet any of the conditions recited above, grant funds received by the recipient shall be repaid to the city a portion of the original grant amount representing the remaining prorated share of the grant funds allocated. So basically, if they kept it in good shape and kept their certification for 10 years and then didn't, they would basically depreciate the value of the generator and then they would have to pay us remaining.
Yeah.
So I can better understand the first question you had, Ralph, about, if the Red Cross, if we have an event and the Red Cross has these shelters, as I understand this, pre-approved, if you will, they will enter into an agreement with the shelter at such time as they want to use it for some number of days or weeks. And so by having a generator there, we're looking more, for this interim period, what Nita's referring to is kind of grace. We haven't really gotten real super strong on these are the requirements. These are the things you have to do to comply. But that interim time period is probably from our workshop we had and talked with the council, that's a lot of interest on the council's part of having something in the short term.
Yeah.
For instance, the most recent cold snap. If either one of our electric systems had a problem and we had quite a number of houses without power during this single digit negative temperatures, we would have been in trouble as a community. And so the ability to have generators around, basically, we did not announce a warming center ahead of time because we really didn't have the manpower to do that in that time frame. But our basic only answer we would have would be a warming center here in this building, which would be downstairs. You'd have a place to sit. And a warming center would be a place to sit versus a shelter, which would be
Place to sleep.
different between a bed and a
Sure.
chair. The warming center being a chair, warm up and go about your merry way. And the governor had come ahead and had committed, and Scott's here, had committed that the state parks would do anything they could if we encountered such problems. And luckily we did not. So that interim thing is we're very interested in that and having these generators, having a generator at a facility that is also, by the way, qualified for Red Cross is more, in my view, my personal view, more of an underwriting of yes, this facility possesses characteristics that would be a
That's the way
shelter.
I see the Red Cross thing too.
Yeah.
Is that they've been doing this a long time, so they already have these requirements of what facilities need to be able to provide and meet and so on.
So I'm
So-
looking at that as more of a certification that,
Me
hey,
too.
yeah, okay.
Me too.
Right now, we've got 3 certified in the city. 3 that are certified or have certifications, and that's Altoona, First Baptist, and Pathway.
So if we, just throwing out an example, if there were a major portion of either one of those grids failed, it would have been phone call time and talk to the contacts of those churches that we know and saying, hey, can you arrange this and open up your facility for these, and the ministerial alliance doesn't include all of them. But I think that, they would, if they had that ability would, and that's to the heart of the issue, I think, of what this would accomplish for the community.
One of the things that it's a little off subject that I was thinking about in this, when we talk about the inner part of it, and we've also talked about developing for the city, and I'm not talking about the streets and the employees, but for the city itself, an emergency preparedness plan. We really don't have one. And if we did have one of those, then say we awarded the grant or grants, then we could talk to those entities and see how maybe if, volunteers or whatever to man that or something. I mean, I
Well,
don't know.
there is a,
There's
there is
Marshall
a-
County,
yes, and city maintains a portion of that.
right,
And so whatever we get out there, expectations would be contact numbers, those organizations would be named and they would be meshed in with that.
right.
And there are non-public entities in that plan now. Okay. Convalescent centers would be a major portion that you have to do a response with. So
Yeah.
in that plan. And should we update that and do a fair amount of work on that? Yeah, we do. And we've got, with changes that's happening at the county level, I fully expect those to be gotten out and dusted off, and we'll take a revision lap through that. Of course, that's done every year.
I was sort of thinking lines too, that maybe, we might come up with a volunteer group or something that Clear was that we could call on.
Mhm.
Whether it's a city or whether it's somewhere else that you could do staff.
That'd be a fine idea. And it's just, the time to plan for those things are before disaster strikes, right? So.
Right.
So this is out here and there's a bit of work to do on it yet. As far as, council members getting, seeing these things, getting used to the ideas and then taking action on it. Moving forward, I don't know quite really what's in order, the next steps. I don't really know for sure quite how we legally put out a request for submittals. I think, some of the questions tonight would, obviously, what this will be part of the city council's meetings and available public record, tonight's activity. But at some point, how exactly the city goes about, doing this, whether we pass an ordinance or whether this is a, just a vehicle by where we grant this money out of the budget, is still, we got to brush up on that and see how we do that. But I think it's more important that the council gets used to the idea and make sure that they support it.
Well, Gene, not when you didn't run with the council, they said twice that they support this grant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a done deal.
I understand that.
And I feel like we look like the Keystone Cops up here, that we just keep bumbling around. And if we're not going to do it in a timely manner, then maybe we need to start looking in a different direction and let the city take care of having a shelter. Maybe we could get the Civic Center certified by the Red Cross. Or we need to do something with this and get moving. It's almost an embarrassment out in the community when people come to you and ask you. And I want to make it clear that, and I don't think most people feel this way, but we're not giving money to churches. We're not giving money to organizations to buy a generator.
We're providing
We are
help
trying to
for emergency
provide
plans.
power for our citizens in case of an emergency. And we can either do it or not do it.
Some of the wording in that I gave you is also talks about if you were to needing more funding, then you reapply next year, or if there were to be more funding, and you can just kind of look at that, like the price of everything's going up. So say
Right.
2 people were granted, so we just split it 50-50. So that if they were needing more funding, we could do this again next year, or you can take it before the council and discuss what your needs are and present it. And that's all in that wording. So that's something to think about as well, just in case it's not enough if we have to split it 50-50.
I mean, with it being a competitive grant, we do not have to split it.
Okay. Okay, good. That's true.
And other grants, other cities have given grants. Not this amount, but regionally, not this amount. So I don't understand the legal ramifications of putting it out there if there's nothing in here that's illegal, immoral, or whatever.
How do we get from this rough draft to the final draft? How do you propose we do that?
I don't get any, if I get input from the council, I mean, I don't know if they've read it or not. If they've read it, Greg says that it's not anything that we can be sued over.
I thought we
Or
were
I can
considering
always-
this a first reading, and then if she was going to make any changes, it was going to come back.
I don't know if you'd actually do a grant like a first reading. I really don't know, but
It doesn't have to be in the form of an ordinance.
no, I didn't
Okay.
think so.
What form does it take?
It's a resolution of the council. It's an expenditure of funds there, and
So what's the document called? What's the instrument? What would that be called?
Be a motion in minute, a motion in the minutes, and then probably taking the form of a
Resolution of council?
Yeah.
Is that
Mhm.
Just a
okay.
resolution.
I thought this was,
And I could never say that nobody would be sued. You could be sued because you're bald,
Absolutely. You
Uh,
might be.
and you might lose.
you might lose, that's right.
Yeah, there are all kinds of weaknesses in all of it, but.
well, an
this isn't
ordinance as
everything that
well,
you
because an
do.
ordinance is
Mhm.
just
Oh, an
a
ordinance doesn't-
suggestion.
I think that,
Oh, the ordinance, whether you do it as an ordinance or a resolution,
Yeah,
you're not gonna do it as an ordinance. It's not ordinance material. It's resolution material. It's just an action of the council. But as to whether or not there are weaknesses that somebody might complain about, you can challenge constitutionality about everything. Over the past, year, we've talked about nearly every aspect of what the concerns are, what you need to think about as you put it together. Nothing's changed. It's all the same considerations it's always been.
so we just wait for your final draft?
yeah, I would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
So a resolution of the council would be the instrument that it takes, and that I believe since I don't think I've ever participated in a resolution of the council.
In effect, every time you vote on something, every time somebody makes a motion and you vote on it, that's in effect a resolution. You don't always call it a resolution, but that's the way resolutions come into being.
Yeah, but
We actually do have a book of official resolutions.
what was the last one?
Last month, I think we did one.
Yeah,
I was gonna
they're
say, we've
usually
done
annual.
resolutions.
Yeah, right.
Okay. that
You're
was right.
talking about resolutions for what we do in-house. Like anytime they make a decision that's not an ordinance, or it's not an executive order,
We
resolution.
passed resolutions.
You have, but not on a regular basis,
No,
is
no,
what he's saying.
no.
We don't normally do that. When we take a vote with the council, it's not always by resolution.
So this is an instrument that the council is going to vote on, which is going to allow the expenditure of a budgetary item. It's been set at $100,000. So I'm asking precisely what instrument we're going to use to do that. That's where I'm at. So,
A
you know,
resolution, and I would say that since we do have two members not here tonight, we do have a forum. If you wanted me to have the finished draft, the final draft, and wait till everybody was here to do the resolution, I'm okay with that.
well, yeah, it looks like you got a workshop going on to do the final wording and questions of council that need to be added or concerns.
And I can do a cover sheet. If you can put it together in the final form, I can do a cover sheet that just says we adopt the following resolution, or the resolution as appears on the attached.
Just throw in some fancy words, put resolution at the top.
Would you, would it be any difference? Would it be, I mean, if y'all are okay with this, I don't see having the workshop. If you want to have a workshop, I'm fine. Jeremy?
I do want it to be in there that they have to follow up with us.
Okay.
That was in one of those suggestions. I want them to do that. I want to be sure the job is being done.
So-
And
But we can do that. It's pretty much said in there. I guess it's just not the vehicle where I read a few minutes ago that they have to stay Red Cross
mhm.
compliant. They have to take care of the upkeep, the maintenance on the generator.
Well,
That's it.
Yes.
let's take your general want
Yeah.
and figure out how we can put it here in specific terms. Can we do that?
Let's look on, look under violations and conditions and tell me how you.
So we've got one here. The city must be notified of any changes to the status of the generator purchase with grant funds. Such status changes include, but are not limited to, inoperability, transfer or relocation, or significant modifications. Okay, that would be one of the things. That's the last one in that section, violations of conditions. So we're looking at a periodic report from the organization.
Yes,
You want a yearly maintenance report?
I'd like to get a copy of their maintenance, yeah,
Okay.
because we have to have that, it is being inspected and serviced. We do ours, biannually, quarterly. We haven't done quarterly. I'd like to get a report at least annually that shows that they are doing, whoever gets this is actually taking care of the grant.
that last sentence about notification, you probably need to recite what happens. You know, that you're gonna tell us, but if there are changes in the vernacular, so what? What does that mean?
Okay.
So you moved it or you've done something that's inoperable, whatever.
Off the top of my head, I'm thinking it goes back to paying us back for. But
Right.
I'll discuss that with John. And Jim.
So we've got,
Anything else? Jeremy, do you have anything?
No, I definitely do not think we need a workshop. I think we've essentially had a bunch of mini workshops along the way here. But it would be nice to take a little more time to look at all this stuff. And maybe, we got this early, but it was just earlier today. So I'd like a little more time to take a look at it. Maybe, by the time the next meeting comes around, we'll be all set.
Okay. Sounds good. That's fine.
okay, in the violation section. Violation is such a strong word. But basically, if something happens during the course of the 15 years, then there is a violation is to repay or return the generator. Correct?
We did talk at one point about as far as returning it, if they did return the generator, yeah. Otherwise, pending approval by the city, the generator may be returned to the city with the recipient incurring all costs associated with removal and transfer of subject generator.
Mhm.
So we would not be responsible for any of the expenses of getting the generator back here. They would have to pay for it. Of course, I mean, basically speaking, what you're gonna run into is if, for instance, somebody runs out of money, we may not have one, but that at least you have it outlined twice.
Right, yes.
As you put the final words on this thing, keep in mind that what you want to do is put the words in a form that a judge could enforce it. You don't want, the judge won't make right and wrong decisions. He will only read what's on the document and say, yes, it complies, or no, it doesn't comply. So it has to be very clear and delineated lines. If it's ambiguous, the judge will just tell me to go home. So it has to be really clearly delineated.
You can take your red ink pen to her document if anything doesn't look black and white to you, right?
I can, but that's not.
It's fine.
Okay.
If he sees any glaring things, he can,
We'll work on it.
yeah.
So, as long as we're talking about this, let's look in detail at the conditions of the grant, okay? So there's some bullet points in there. Hang with the Red Cross, maintain and comply with all contractual requirements subject to Red Cross emergency shelter certification for a period of 15 years following install of electric generator purchased with grant funds. Cooperate fully with Red Cross in making the shelter available to the public in terms of emergency. Agree to having the facility designed or designated as a Calvert City emergency shelter resource in the Marsh County Emergency Action Plan, which we had briefly discussed. Accept responsibility for all routine maintenance, all repairs, and all fuel costs associated with the generator, and maintain immediate functionality for the 15-year expected life of the generator. And that's not really a walk in the park. That's a pretty big commitment for all those things. And successful recipients must agree to the terms of the grant and exercise a legal agreement to the terms and agreement with the recipient's organizational bylaws and procedures. So that's some good language.
And insert also the submission of annual inspection reports.
Yes, and so
Yeah, I've
down,
got
yeah,
that. Oh,
okay. That's probably the better thing than violation. So periodic reporting, we're okay. This is quarterly, annual report, quarterly.
John said yearly, but whatever y'all want.
I think annual is plenty.
Annual.
I think an annual, they need to set up a plan, whatever it is. Like I said, all we need to do is get down there and it fail. you know, in a dire need, it failed because they haven't maintained it like they should. That's the scare in this. And so therefore they're submitting something that shows at least once a year that, I mean, it should be routinely cranked. It should, so.
We'll do some verbiage there about annual reporting and put something in there about quarterly status, and annual reporting of the quarterly status or something.
To include quarterly status checks
Yeah.
or something like that, okay. That might. work
That's
right
kind of
there.
trying to point you into, I've got to have a record of quarterly status attention, and then you report on that on an annual basis.
That way we're not having to just sit on them and say, hey, we need something from you every 3 months, you know.
Instead of violations of conditions, you could have something about non-compliance. That we
Just a question. If the violation with the non-compliance were to result in effect, destruction of the generator, you know, you let it run out of oil. I'm painfully aware of that. My daughter recently did that. Not in the generator. But if it were a lawnmower knocks a hole in the crankcase or something, and it destroys the generator. What's the remedy? What happens?
I think that would be the same thing. I mean, I don't think it'd be that bad.
Could they just give it back to us?
No, I think they'd have to pay.
Pay those damages or?
Yeah, if it was their fault, wouldn't you think?
Fix it or pay the.
I was gonna say they can make an insurance claim.
Well, it's,
That would be something that you would need to put in those violation of conditions.
well, no, we have it. No, it's already in here, Greg. It's here under conditions of grant.
Yeah.
Accept responsibility for all routine maintenance, all repairs, and all fuel costs associated with the generator.
Yeah. But
If you
the,
don't know what happens if they
but the
don't.
violation of the conditions then spells out what happens if you don't do that.
Yeah, that's what he's looking at. What is the remedy
Yeah.
of the violation?
If it's something that tears up the generator.
You're billed. If you don't pay, you're turned over. to
First
Focus.
sentence, should any grant recipient fail to maintain Red Cross or otherwise fail or cease to meet any of the conditions recited above. So one of the conditions recited above is you got maintain immediate functionality and you're responsible for fixing it.
What? I thought
The
it said
violations
you
of
could get-
conditions in the first sentence
Uh-huh.
or otherwise fail or cease to meet any of the conditions recited above. And one of the conditions is the thing will run and
Yeah.
yet you repair it. Does that not answer your question?
Not really, because what it seems to say is they could pay a pro rata share. Is that, and all I'm asking is that the consequence? Is they could pay a pro rata share back?
Well, if they had used it successfully for 5 years.
I think everything was set up kind of on a pro rata set up or basis is what I understood.
If
Yeah.
they had
That seems
provided.
reasonable. If it was in the
if they
14th year
provided
that
their
happened.
services for 5 years and then some bungling person didn't put oil in it, they still served the purpose for 5 years. That's why we.
Yeah,
felt
they
like-
either pay it off
So they'd pay
at the
back
pro rata.
10 years worth of
Yes.
a straight line depreciation.
So somebody's got to take a look at what would the repair cost be? What is the path to buying your way out?
Yeah, well, the way this is if at any point it becomes dysfunctional, just it gets broken by whatever means, then they can pay a pro rata share of whatever the straight line depreciation, a pro rata share. They can pay a pro rata share to the city and that's the damage. I just wanted to be sure that that's what you intended because that's the way I was reading it.
They need to look into a warranty.
And I'm sure they will. I mean, I don't think anybody that's even thinking about doing this. I think they all realize what a responsibility it is and I mean.
They're very
these-
serious
these-
about it.
These entities have maintained their facilities for X number of years,
Church insurance.
The church's umbrella insurance.
I'd
would
be
it not?
surprised at what they write out.
Well, if it was, what I
It
think.
depends
we
on
were-
the insurance.
Yeah, I think what we were basically talking about, if it was due to negligence or something, the insurance probably would not pay. But in the best scenario, if something happened, their insurance would pay for it, and we'd be back up and running. It's just, again, one of those things, try to cover what you can.
Well, I know, which I'm sure all these folks know it. We've certainly had to deal with it. churches have problems with vandals. So. It's a whole lot of issue.
Mhm. Yep. I mean, there's no doubt that that had to be a specific line item and whatever insurance coverage you might potentially buy from one policy, or maybe you have to get some kind of preventive maintenance agreement with an entity to come in and do your quarterly checks. I mean, I'm not shot for it personally. But it has to be a line item somewhere.
I guess if you wanted to, you could ask for a copy of their insurance policy. That was.
Well, we were, this has been, a lot of work has gone into this in the status that it is. And we were trying to keep it simple as you could be. And you can chase down things that start making it look like a lot more. But we're expecting the language here is pretty complete, and it's pretty broad as far as its completeness. It doesn't drill down in those multiple levels of things of which we could all probably do. I had to keep applying the shot collar myself to keep from doing it. Trying to chase every scenario out, but basically, we're gonna, look at people who are wanting money, and the expectation is for the life of the generator for 15 years, you keep it running, and for 15 years that they maintain. And the gravity of the organization is probably going to, be able to support that. And if something happens in the 15-year period, you figure out how to sweep it up. And a pro rata is what's been offered so far in the document. So what have we agreed to do moving forward? Nita is going to go through and put a final on this, and I will assist any way possible. And if anybody has questions, and
Save them sunny.
we'll sweep through this.
If y'all would feel better having everybody here, for everybody be here next week.
Well, the council business can go on as long as we've got a quorum.
And remember the resolution tonight?
But it's not like a first or second reading.
No, it's not.
Do you want a resolution before we actually have a grant recipient, or before, do we need that before, or do we need it at the time of the grant award?
No, you need to do a
You think
resolution that these are the terms under which we're
Okay,
doing this
all right.
grant.
Okay,
But you sort
so
of
we need,
need
I
it-
think we need a final on that one.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think we
Do
need
you
a final before we do
thing
that.
For it to be.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. So
Yes,
next,
you just want to vote one time.
all right,
Yeah.
next month. We'll have the final.
So I think Jeremy's observation about we've had workshops going. We've had conversations and questions in here. I mean, there's been some behind the scenes move too. And Nita's done a lot of hours on this, and I certainly appreciate it.
I just feel like we're doing the right thing for our citizens. And that's-
Absolutely.
It's trying to, it's not all complete.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to any new business that might be out here? Okay.
Financial disclosure, you want to do that then? You want to do that?
I did give everyone your financial disclosure form. I do need those by February 15th.
Okay.
So the ethics board can have their meeting.
Okay.
And I did give all of you the new water and sewer rate structure. And I gave you an example kind of how the bills compare from last year to this year. The rate is calculated per ordinance. It stipulates how I do that. The increase this year is 4.77%, unless, in case you have anyone asking you, because it will be, it always starts on the January billing, which will be in a couple of weeks.
So this is informational. We don't need council action on this.
We do
It's
not.
It's already in place.
It is. I just wanted you to be aware.
All right, thanks.
And Blair, I've asked Blair, she's gonna put it on the website. and do a news release.
Okay, if everybody's ready, we can move on to other business. And put Blair on the spot. Happy New Year, Blair. Happy New Year to everybody, by the way.
So we don't have it, the voice, we don't have a youth voice writing contest winner. But I do want to start publicizing that maybe a little bit more, get the word out. Send it to you.
I wonder if it's something I should send home.
That would be awesome. Okay.
Can you see if that is on?
Probably
Is
not.
it?
Doesn't sound like it is. No, it says it is.
Okay.
It's not loud enough.
You know, I could have it sent to the middle schools as well. We'll get that out.
Sorry, Jeremy. I'm sure that hurt your ears. So
Here we go, Blair.
other things, we had the Lions Club meeting on last Thursday. And this is their 75th year of being a Calvert City Lion organization. So obviously one of our oldest organizations, actually, I assume it is our only, because anyway, it's not working. Anyway, they're celebrating 75 years. And I think it's going to be May 21st is when we're going to do it. If it's on a Saturday, we'll just have it at the Civic Center and just celebrate 75 years. They were really big in the 50s and 60s, paving roads, and of course they bought the fire department or fire truck.
Responsible for parks. and
Yep,
stuff. Most
parks.
part,
Even like street signs hanging. I think their club put up the first street signs, and it says in the minutes that they'd put 78 signs up. So I don't know if that's a lot. I
They
don't know
put
how many
glasses.
signs we have now.
They put glasses on a lot of our
more than
students.
78.
A lot.
Uh,
What day did you say that was?
May 21st is the tentative date. That's kind of the date that we're thinking of. I passed it around the pickleball tournament. It's coming up. We're working on that, getting all the things done with that. And they're expecting about 200 people to be participating in it. So that's exciting. And then Keith Loven, he's the state bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. He reached out to me and asked if I was going to put Calvert City in for the bicycle friendly community awards. And I didn't even know that there was an awards. So he sent me the application and it seems pretty straightforward. So I told him with his help that we'll definitely apply. He said that Frankfurt and Pikeville have applied for the award, but he said that Calvert had a lot of potential to possibly win. Yes, promising. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
What award is that?
It's called the Bicycle Friendly Community Awards. Yeah. But that would be awesome. That's national recognition for Calvert. And even if we don't get it, they do follow up with a report on ways that we can improve. So I think that either way, it's good. And we would follow in suit with other award winners, Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green. I think that's awesome too. And then John and I are going to transportation this week.
Kentuckians for better transportation.
Yeah, we're leaving Wednesday, so we'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then back Friday afternoon.
This is
So-
the second year we've attended this one, and actually we were featured last year because of the airport, so.
I'll be going to, and I'll be working the Bike Walk Kentucky booth while we're there. Then next week is pretty off, and then the next week is the Tennessee River Line. So Nita and Jean, I think, are coming with us, with me. We are I think it's gonna be awesome. They asked me to present a workshop on river animation, so I'll be presenting about some of our past events at the summit. And that is not next week, but the next week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's really all I have. I don't have
That's
very
fine.
much to talk about, so.
The bazaars and everything are really nice. I guess
Yeah,
we
they
talked
were
about
good.
that last time,
Yeah,
but
they were
that
good.
was
So Charlie, wanna go with that?
Oh, and by the way, can we just welcome back Lloyd? 'Cause
Yes.
that makes me very happy.
I don't know what it's gonna say. But sometime between now and dinner time tomorrow, I'm supposed to get a legal notice from Keith Todd of the Transportation Academy. So maybe y'all might already know about this. No, I see physical expressions. You do not know that. I'm supposed to- They're gonna have some kind of meeting on some kind of plan for 1523 all the way to McDonald's. And it's something to deal with safety issues out of McDonald's. I don't know what to, like I say, he just spoke to me in vague terms. I just want to make sure he could get it in. They're gonna have a meeting sometime in February.
Okay,
So be looking for it.
we'll be looking for it.
turning lane.
I told him, I said, the Camelot subdivision, we would really like a turn lane. Because we like to live, and it's really, I mean, of course, it happens, to anybody who lives, it's got to turn up, use of
Is
Highway
he talking
63.
1523 Oak Park or 1523 Industrial Park?
1523 Oak Park.
I think it's Oak Park.
Yeah, yeah.
This is that the information on, I think it has to do with the widening or the road between of 62 between here and there.
Well, like I say, I haven't seen it. I tried to quiz him on it. a
I-
little bit, but-
Yeah, I don't know for sure that that's it. I just know that that's something that was in there.
Well, I'm suspicious that there's something in there that people may not be comfortable with, or they wouldn't be having a public meeting.
So it's a
They
public,
have
meeting.
to have a public meeting. Period. If they're doing like something like that, they have to have a public meeting. That's just a given.
Yeah, it's required.
It's required. That's nothing new.
It's gonna be,
Okay,
Is he here? Did you talk to him in person or was it an email?
talk to him via telephone.
Mhm. So is he here? Is he the trash house? Okay.
So, I don't know, I'm always kind of.
You're
Well-
very suspicious, Lloyd.
Yes, I have a suspicious nature.
well, if you can recall, the public meeting is,
If they wanted to shut off the interstate.
yeah, that's the last,
Yeah.
public meeting in the plan for the 69-24 split. And its impact on the Purchase Parkway spur, that was a result of a public meeting. Yeah. It created some difficulties and prevented others. And so,
Well, I just felt like you guys needed to know, and I don't know exactly what's in, but I
Yeah.
know to start moving these type of things around. There's going to be something in it that's going to be a concern.
Mhm.
And you just count. Tomorrow. Yes, I have a whole reserve for it.
well, I mean, it's been that way for a while as far as having the ability to do it.
Well, I mean, there's talk about a roundabout.
I remember that.
And I've seen pictures of roundabouts.
I've been on roundabouts.
I've been on a lot on our way
The one
to
in
Moab.
Paducah,
They were
I like the one at
everywhere.
the mall, but
There's
a
a
real
bunch of them out there.
roundabouts. We're gonna have to have some
No,
education classes.
I've seen
I'll tell you
pictures of
what.
roundabouts proposed
On,
in this spot,
oh, in this spot.
in this spot.
Oh, so I haven't seen
Yeah.
it proposed for it.
My husband hates roundabouts.
I love 'em.
I do
Does
too.
the
I
bike
love
path
it.
go through the roundabout?
It's
Do I-
so much
Does the
faster
bike-
than having to sit for a red light.
I love
Proposal
it.
You saw, did the bike path go through the
In
roundabout?
England, they have double
Mm.
roundabouts.
Well, different states take different ways to do it. Bowling Green had a roundabout that solved a big time problem in their WKU's campus.
They've actually added two more.
Whatever they call that, the mall solves some problems.
That's a
People fuss about
double
it.
diamond
Double
crossover.
I love the double diamond.
Yeah.
cross.
There's one in Lexington. I always
Everybody
forget what
said that
road
was
is
gonna
that?
be
Harrisburg
chaos.
Road. Harrisburg Road, Lexington's got
That's
one,
perfect.
and it works well.
Yeah.
But
Bowling
we
Green's
see
actually
stuff that you're not familiar with, and
added
just
two more
usual,
roundabouts since the first one.
We just need education on roundabouts if we get.
I want one.
Carmi, Illinois. Carmel, Illinois.
Carmi.
Indiana, Carmi. Anyway, they are a roundabout city. They have done everything they could to get rid of intersection lights and go to the roundabout. They do it at the interchanges. They do it in town. If it's new and it's an intersection, they generally put in a roundabout. Because they have less accidents, the accidents are less severe. There's several things that go along with that. There was a gentleman that wasted some money and bought a camera. He was one of the houses at that intersection in Bowling Green.
Mhm.
He wasted some money and put in a camera because he's going to video all these accidents.
All the
that are gonna
accidents. Yeah.
happen. Uh,
Well,
Because if it's an accident, it's a glancing blow. It's not a head on or it's not a T-bone. And so that's one of the good things about it. And you're moving slower than you would normally. And again, you're moving, you're not just sitting there. So, yeah.
but thanks for the heads up.
Well, I mean, I'm always cautious when they don't say, well, it's just this. We get to where we just kind of talk about some of the general terms.
Okay.
Generalities. Cause me
Something to look forward to.
Be a first again.
You know, okay, we'll move C. When instead of letting you be the bitter end, we're gonna give you the respect that you deserve and bring you up.
Oh, really?
Well, the respect that some say you're deserving of. Yes, I am. I'm just looking forward to the conversation of eagles and bats and time periods.
To
and-
say about the Eagles and Bats on my.
Okay,
We have two ongoing projects. First one is the airport layout plan. We initiated that study process a year ago. The FAA called timeout 7 months ago. We asked them for written changes to our scope of work and they have yet to produce them. So we are still waiting for the FAA to proceed with that document. The good news is, the only entity that's being held up by this airport layout plan is us, Hanson. If you have a project that you want to do at the airport, the lack of an airport layout plan will not hinder that. We can always do a pencil change to the existing one. So there's no impact at all on any plans that you might have for the airport, whether they are given plans that we know about now or something that pops up tomorrow that you might want to do. The other project is the approach clearing. All the identified objects, trees that penetrate the approach have been removed. On Wednesday, the contractor will be back out at the nursery doing final cleanup, stump removal, grading, and seeding. And that project will be completed. As soon as that project is completed, Hanson will go on the FAA website, the obstruction inventory website, and remove the known obstructions from that document. And you will be ready for the flight for your survey, which tentatively is
April.
scheduled for,
Is it April or May?
yes, yes.
Exactly.
It's either April or May.
so you're gonna have to get the virtual world to reflect the actual world.
Yes, there is actually an FAA website that lists all the penetrations to all the approaches in the country. And there's a specific process that you have to, surveyors that you have to follow to get those removed from their database. Then they go out with an airplane and they fly the approach to check your honesty, I guess is the best way to put it. Or your view of the approach, and they confirm that those are gone. And then they publish the instrument approach. So bottom line is, we are on schedule for an instrument approach to be available to the pilots during this calendar year.
Possibly October. Possibly.
Or November, or the way the FAA is operating these days, December 31st. That's all I have, unless there are questions. For no
Thank you for
questions.
your
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Thank you, yes.
Every time we talk about that instrument approach, I think about the last airplane crash we had out over Barkley. So hopefully we can get her done before you're in. Project report now.
Starting with City Hall, our conference room is in progress as we speak. The furniture is due in hopefully first of next week. But Bob is installing the cabling to put in our camera system and audio as well. So we're working on that. The basin, which is the stormwater detention basin, 6th and Cedar, is coming along. We actually have got to extend a couple of pipes and make a correction. But we're almost completed with that. It just depends on when we can get back in. Right now, the plant's shut down and basically pulled everybody away from our project. So that's kind of what we're waiting on, that and for the materials to actually show up. There's another pipe that, or two, was it one or two?
Is it one section five?
One section of pipe that we've got to put in there. We found a water line that was a surprise apparently to everybody. So we had to extend beyond the water line. So the radio generator, the generator for the radio room, I should say, the generator is in. We're in the process of changing over. We actually are going to combine the generator room and the tower, water tower, no satellites, and the water tower. I don't know which one I'm looking for there.
Into one service.
Anyway, we're going to put them all into one service, electrical service. We've got two. So we'll get rid of one. One service will take care of it. The generator will then power all of it. So that way the telemetry, that's the word I'm looking for, the telemetry data and stuff like that for the water tower.
It's just getting recycled.
Thank you. Garbage truck, again, they bounced us. We were looking at December of last year for our new garbage truck. It looks like it's at this point now, last we heard was February of this year or sometime next month or the month after, or in Tim's terms. Exactly. The lift station project for Old Park will begin. They're going to start it pretty quick. We were waiting on a few more things to come in. We've got everything, I think, now to get it moving. Basically, that station that we had down there was either not filling the bill or it was about worn out, and we had to replace it. So that's what we're doing with that. Public Wi-Fi. What we were waiting on are some parts for our electrical power on some of the poles in Old Park. I think we're good down to the midsection. We're good down to the Methodist Church. And we've got a few things we've got to add to the poles and stuff in Old Park so that we'll have the electrical outlets and the transponders that we need for the Wi-Fi. And once we get that done, you'll be able to go anywhere in our park system from up here all the way to Old Park, and you'll have public Wi-Fi. So the bike trail, we're looking at some ramps. We've got 3 of them that have been picked out. One of the things I'm running into is I looked at what was submitted. American Ramp Company, which is the same one that did our skate park, is the representative. When I contacted the company itself, they said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Kentucky." They sent me right back to American Ramp. So you're not going to be able to go around them to get better pricing. That won't happen. The only other company I can find that does these type of ramps and prefabricates these ramps is out of British Columbia. And I have yet to get a response out of them. So I don't know if they do anything in America or not. They don't respond to calls from America, I will tell you that. So I've sent an email and I've phoned it 2 or 3 times and I'm not getting anything back. But the pricing that we have fits within our budget. So we're probably going to proceed on. That gives us something like a roller coaster, a seesaw type setup, and then a zigzag setup on the trail that is a obstacle type setup for it. Again, memorial table and bike racks, we've got them. They just are not on the agenda as yet. We're trying to push some other things through based on the weather. But that's updated. Let's see. You know about that one? See if there's anything else. We have got, just FYI, we've gotten all of our maps, plats in our map room have been digitized and included into our server. So now all of our maps, all of our plans, all the plats and stuff like that are on the server, and all the hard copies have gone down to archives. And so if you want to see a map, a plat of something, all you have to do is come up here. You can get on the computer, look it through the server on our file for that and see them. And you can put them up on a large screen so you can see them as well. So that way people are not handling the plats and maps, and they don't get shuffled around, lost, and all the other. We're also in the process of trying to get all of our other records digitized. So that's something that's an ongoing project. Everything in the files we're trying to get digitized. In other words, it'll be on the server and open to quick access instead of having to go back and pull a file. And anything new that comes in, we have a hard copy and we have a digital copy. So that's how we're handling that. And that's Brad, like anything?
The only other thing would be, we plan on starting on the lift station tomorrow. So the restrooms will be closed down until we get the project completed.
Okay. Blair, you got that? Okay. All right. I didn't know if we'd had communications there. Oh, also, this week is the last week for leaf. The leaf vac is going to run through Friday. And after that, you'll bag them and put them out with your garbage and we'll pick them up then. If you got any leaves to bag, anything after this week, bag the leaves and we'll pick them up with the garbage. Mike, you got anything that I forgot?
Well, you got possession of your courtesy car now.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much for reminding me of that. So we do. They have the 2014 police car. He had all the striping and labeling is off that. And he's turned it over to us to get ready to make a courtesy car for the airport.
How do we work that into our insurance?
It's still just a car in our insurance as far as that goes.
But anybody can be a driver?
Well, they have to be a pilot. You know, they're supposed to be pilots and stuff like that. So
Does our insurance need to know about that?
They will.
Okay.
that'll be something we'll do special and find out about that. So, but there'll be coverage. It'll be through I would say it would be through that. If not, we'd go to the airport. See, the insurance for our airport, our buildings are covered through KLC, but our liability, general liability, is actually covered through a different carrier because they don't do general liability for airports. They do for the buildings and structures, but not the airport itself. And we have that covered through a special carrier. Peel and Holland is who we go through.
So policy and procedure on that goes to the airport board to set that up.
Okay.
So it's a fairly common thing
And it will be.
at many airports, and it is a specialty item. And
And
there is, I share concerns you do too. So it seemed
before we
like a lot
put it
of
out for usage, it will be clearly marked. You'll be able to see it down this road and know that that's the airport courtesy car. It will be boldly noted.
I have one.
Great. I was gonna say
Oh,
Maverick.
No, you're right. But it'll be.
You ever
it'll be
seen Jimmy
noted.
Jet? That's what you do.
What was it, the little?
JJ the jet plane.
Yes, yeah, one of those type setups, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we need to invest in the fiberglass cover for it. It kind of look like a la the hot dog.
Yeah. I think they're looking for a driver.
Hey, that's what I want to do in my retirement, was drive the Oscar mile.
They're looking for a driver.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
That would be great.
I was nearly involved in a traffic accident one time on the interstate highway system. The gawkers of the hot dog car really ran me over. It's like, oh my goodness.
Thanks again, Mike, for the donation.
Yes, thank you.
So I have some.
So yeah, put Brad on the spot. Brad, good job with the roads. I think Calvert City roads were thought out as quickly as Mother Nature would allow anybody to be successful doing that. You guys were Johnny on the spot working on Sunday. Got her beat down.
3 hour long weekend. pretty short.
Yeah, I understand. As far as city facilities damaged to cold weather? No.
To my knowledge, we had no damage to any facilities. I think they had some water line issues. Or they had did they have a water line
We
issue?
didn't, the water.
Water
That's what I'm
department.
saying. The
Water
had
department.
something, yeah.
Dan is Dan
But
with
we
us
didn't
here?
have any structural issues or anything like
You
that.
admitted him? I don't see Dan. There was a main break. Christmas Eve. There's a main break on Evergreen Street and the guys were out. Had to get the gas company to come out. I'm trying to think and I've shortened them. Many of the plants, many of our industrial citizens had some pretty rough going during this time period. Putting a lot of demand on the water department. Boiler rates of fire are really high and a lot of water trying to flow to prevent freeze ups, put a load on. So the water department was really hopping during the period, and both of them, all that week from the cold snap even through New Year's.
Yep.
So proud of those guys. They did a great job. Proud to know that we had our buildings properly winterized without any
That's what it
unforeseen.
appeared.
Okay. Well, with that said, this is where we typically go around and ask council members. Tanera, put you up first. You got something you want to bring up tonight or?
No, it'll have to be later.
Okay, all right. Ralph?
What will Bruce's emphasis be now that digitization project is essential?
Well, his primary function is not that. That was just another, just something that was added. His primary function is compliance. He's the one going out, checking and doing a lot of the
How's that
junk
going?
vehicles. He's doing fine. We're having some issues with the courts. And so once we get that cleared up, then we'll see which way we need to go. I mean, yeah, his productivity is unreal. It's great. He's gone through and done all the inspections for the year on the conditional uses. You have to go through do every conditional use every year and do those inspections. He's got those done. He's done junk vehicles, yards, the whole 9 yards. I mean, he takes a load off of all of us. And he's only working 2.5 days a week. So right now, that's all he's doing. And we haven't really expanded much other than that. I mean, we've been able to utilize him for that purpose. I finally had someone that I could send over there and feel comfortable that it was going to get taken care of and taken care of properly, and it has.
Anything else? Okay.
Jeremy.
I'll let Jeremy go. Jeremy, you got something you want to bring up tonight?
I'm all good. Thank you.
All right. Well, we got your volume turned up very high and you're commanding attention. So I'm telling you, now's the time. If you want to get something through, is we've got you set up.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Maybe you got something.
I do have one little thing that I wanted to bring to the council's attention. It was done for the Methodist Church, but it sort of impacts the whole community, and Andrew Woods is working toward and completing his Eagle Scout Award, and his project was to install 2 flagpoles and the area around the flagpoles, and it's on the corner of the
Landscaping.
Methodist Church. You can see it as you go down Fifth Avenue or Oak Park, and so I just would like to give Andrew Woods some recognition for that.
Give him a shout out. We can do that. I noticed him flying proud.
And Mr. Carl Hamlin helped him a lot. with
That was put in what, this weekend?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They finished it this weekend, Saturday.
I mean, he's brainstormed on this for months.
He has, he has, he's worked hard on it. That's it.
Okay. Fire chief's not here. I let Mike, Chief Cannon off the hook. Chief, you got anything? All good. Glad to hear it. Scott, we appreciate you being there in case we needed a warming center. How's Parks doing?
Parks are doing fine. We are getting back into the swing of things. I mean, during the month of December, it's kind of kick back and let the world go by. For the first time ever, we actually more or less were shut down for the holiday season. Now getting back into the season here. January is always busy with paperwork, just like everybody. The cool thing is we've got a couple things that have happened. We've got 2 new staff members joining us full time. We've got a program person as well as an HVAC person joining us. So that's 2 marks off the list of 15. So that'll be cool. We've got front desk and housekeeping posted right now. So if you know anybody, make sure they surf over the website careers.ky.gov and find those find those openings. What else we got going on? Restaurants turned back to operations again. Restaurants now open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You'll find dinner on Thursday, 3 meal Friday, 3 meal Saturday, and breakfast and lunch on Sunday. 12, 15, and 18. $12, $15, and $18.
A couple of your servers are really advertising for the restaurant.
Good.
I'm constantly seeing delicious things posted on Facebook with a lot of comments, so they're doing great.
Yeah, we had, I got pictures of the chicken basket, direct competition to Dairy Queen's chicken basket. Eagle Watch weekend coming up here, the 20th, 21st, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, excuse me. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's sold out for a while. We're excited about that. I hate to say this, and it's unofficial, but it may be the last time for the CQ Princess to come down. It's getting to the point where he's no longer cost effective to bring that big yacht down from Louisville. That's used every year for not only our weekend as well as El and the other state parks and etc. So we'll see how that all plays out. But we got an exciting weekend. If you guys are wanting to come over on Saturday night at 7 o'clock, we've got the Raptor presentation. It's free of charge for anybody that comes in at the conference center. Liberty.
What was the day?
I want to say it's Saturday the 21st, 22nd, something like that. Yeah, it's conference center, 7 o'clock. Liberty Education Center. I forget exactly what it's called, so I'm sorry. But it's always cool to watch all those birds fly right over your head while you're sitting in the audience. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it has happened.
We're both up.
Everybody has, and yes, it does happen.
And some goggles.
But it's still an experience.
So you're speaking from experience.
No, it sounds horrible. All right. It is cool to see them.
You guys got your list of projects. We've got our list of projects always. Right now, you're going to see some digging start happening around the park. It actually started at the end of last month and continuing on now for the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, depending on backlog of supplies. Our sewer project is actually making moves. The latest piece, the $2 million piece, is in operation. So they are completely rehabilitating our sewers for the entire park. Which is anybody that's been around here would know how much work that actually entails. It's taken 2.5 years just to get to this point where they can start moving the first trip. We also have an electric project going on. It'll supply a new electrical feed to the marina. For those of you that don't know, the marina is actually an independent organization, but they run off the park's grid. And we will actually be installing a direct feed for the marina. The money's there. It's literally the supplies. We're talking a 2 to 3 year time frame on some of those transformers. You know, we got, you guys were talking about buying furniture. I've got 10 couches on order right now that've been on order for 6 months. We've got an entire fleet of golf carts on order that are maybe gonna be here next fall. So it's just.
We get it.
supply and demand,
We get
supply
it. Garbage trucks, fork trucks, the
Yeah.
plants, the community advisory team, it's still impacting a lot of things.
My sewer project was supposed to have been, phase 1 was supposed to have been done as of today. We just started moving the dirt for phase 1. And there are control panels that, when you've gone through this recently, control panels, we don't know time frame on control panels on some of the lift stations.
Right.
Now, so that's why we're looking at, hopefully by the end of this year, phase 1 will be done. But anyhow, we're excited, we're moving, there's a lot of stuff happening in the park, so come on out. You guys want to come out for a tour or something, you know, everybody around here says, well, I've been to the park, but when was the last time you were actually at the park? When was the last time you came by and looked at buildings? Looked at some of the things that we tend to on a daily basis, or what you want to bring your family up. Hey, you know what, next time you got family in town, you don't want to make a mess in your house, come on and make a mess in our place.
All right.
We'll take care of it too. But anyhow,
That's a pretty good commercial you put out. I threw the door open and we got her done. And listen, Scott, we appreciate the park. We want the park to be successful and getting the word out there where we can help. Certainly don't mind that. So a lot of challenges, a lot of potential. We need to unlock some of these problems and crank that park's potential up. Now I've lost him. Okay.
we got 2 of them.
With that, I would entertain a motion. I don't know what we're gonna do. Kevin's not here. We're gonna be stuck all
I
night.
told him that we would take care of it, so I make a motion.
Okay. Needed made the motion. Second. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Jeremy.